welcome back to the channel, folks. Mr. H here for an update on Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek movie. This is an exclusive for Deadline. It's a big, long interview where Quentin Tarantino is primarily talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but he does also, naturally, cover his career in general, and some questions are asked about his potential involvement in a Star Trek film. And he clarifies an awful lot of stuff, and not only from this, in subsequent interviews he's had now since, he's also clarified some more things. So not only will we cover this Deadline article, but we will also cover some comments he made recently on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. So for those that don't know, Quentin Tarantino is set to make 10 films, right? He says he's going to make 10 films and then retire. And he kind of threw out a curveball, saying that he was really interested in directing a Star Trek film. For those that don't know, Tarantino's a huge Star Trek fan, massive in fact. And when this news broke, obviously some people really hated the idea, some people were all for it, some people were indifferent. That's how, humans work. For me personally, I actually think Tarantino would be good for it. And I'll clarify why at the end of this video, just to get my own thoughts out there. But I do think he would be good for the franchise, especially given its current state. So, all went quiet, because this all happened probably about a year ago. And all went quiet for some time, but it started to pick up steam again. Ever since, coincidentally, the fourth film in the J.J. Abrams movies have kind of just disappeared. I think it's the fourth one. Fourth or fifth, anyway. And since that's kind of just disappeared, this has now picked up some more steam. So Deadline spoke to Quentin Tarantino and said, when Deadline revealed you and J.J. Abrams connected on the idea of a Star Trek movie you would direct with an R rating, nobody believed it. Now I hear there is a script in by the Revenant scribe Mark L. Smith, and you'll do work on the script after you are finished with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So again, that's kind of why things have been picking up steam now, because these were comments that he's already made. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is doing the rounds, the press tours, and then he's going to hopefully work on the script as per his own comments. Now, Deadline say, I can see you are getting the Star Trek question about as often as being asked about retirement, but since we're talking about Shatner, here's what I am curious about, because previously in an interview, Tarantino himself touched on William Shatner as some inspiration for another part of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, Deadline asked, what was it about that original show that has led you to take this project to a point where it is looking like it will really happen? So a few things there. If we're looking at the subtext behind what Deadline's saying, they are saying that they know that this movie is very close to happening, i.e. they have sources that confirm to them it's likely it's going to happen. Which they're not out and out stating it, but they are just saying, looking likely. But the subtext is there. They are essentially confirming that they know it's at a point where it will happen. Now Tarantino responds, and his response kind of confirms that as well. Now he says, I'm a big fan of the show Star Trek. I really like it a lot. But my portal into that show is William Shatner. I love William Shatner on Star Trek. I love his performance as James T. Kirk. That is my connection. That is my umbilical cord. It's why I like Star Trek more than Star Wars, because William Shatner's not in Star Wars. I think it's one of the greatest performances in the history of episodic television, of a series lead, and rightly so, because very few series leads have ever gotten the opportunity to play all the different wild, crazy things, the enemy within alone. High praise from Tarantino there. I like William Shatner. Don't like him that much, but he's getting some good praise from Tarantino there. So Deadline says that's the 5th episode in the first season, obviously pertaining to The Enemy Within, directed by Leon Penn, where Kirk splits into 2 people because of a transporter malfunction, and his main crew is stranded on a planet. So that's why I actually really was so taken with J.J. Abrams' first reboot, and how fantastic I thought Chris Pine channeled William Shatner. He did, actually. Whatever you think of Chris Pine and his pseudo-stardom, he was very good in that. And he was very good at a pseudo-William Shatner, I guess you can say. He didn't go a serious actory way. He said, well, no, I'm going to do my own thing. He's playing the William Shatner version of Kirk, and he's doing a fantastic job at it. I mean, perfect, frankly. And Zachary Quinto is perfect as Spock. They really are. The two guys, they effing got it. And they do. They are genuinely, in those roles, they're good. Again, whatever you think of them elsewhere, they are good in those roles. If you're relating it to, you know, Shatner and Nimoy. Now, Deadline says, what would the R rating give you that PG-13 would not? Now, this has been a big point of contention for a long, long time. People have said, is it going to be R-rated or not? And Tarantino confirmed it would be. So it's nice that Deadline just says, what would the R rating give you that PG-13 wouldn't? Tarantino says, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. But if I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it my way. Good. As a director, and if you have that weight, you absolutely should do it your way. Too many directors who are now up and coming are just bullied and bowled over by movie studios. And there's some legitimate reasons for that sometimes, but for the most part, we're now seeing an era of Hollywood which is run by boards. It's literally just a board of directors just saying, no, we want this, we want this. A committee meeting, so to speak. And it's a shame because we lose that creative flair, which made the current icons of directing icons. Them being allowed their creative flair is what made them so great. So it's a shame. Now, Tarantino says, if you've seen my 9 movies, you kind of know my way is an R-rated way, and a way that is without certain restrictions. So that goes part and parcel. I think it's more controversial if I said I'm going to do a PG movie and it's going to fit exactly in the universe. It's not me. What the F am I doing? I mean, I didn't even do that when I did that CSI episode. It's got a point. The thing is, when I talk to JJ about it, and it's not that radical. We're just not working. We're just not worrying about stuff like that. JJ said, Quentin, I love this idea because I think with Star Trek, we can go any way we want to. Look, I've got a situation. As long as Paramount likes the idea and the script, they've almost got nothing to lose right now when it comes to Star Trek. And that's what I said. I'll give you my points of why I think Quentin's a good bet now, because it literally is this. They are in such a bad state with Star Trek. They've lost Chris Pine, they've lost Chris Hemsworth due to financing. The movies have progressively gotten worse and worse in quality, with certain ideas here and there. You might not think so, it's my personal opinion. And it's make or break. I mean, Quentin, it can't get any worse than it is. And someone so creatively unique, again, whether you like or dislike his creative flair, is not really the point. But someone so creatively unique could breathe new life into a franchise which is, unfortunately, quite tired at this point. From the movie perspective, they're doing all right with the series now. We've got Picard, that's looking great. The trailer especially was fantastic. But everything else is kind of meh. It's fine. It's nothing special. And I think he could bring something special. So it's great that J.J. Abrams even acknowledges that. You know, he says, as long as Paramount likes the idea and the script, they've almost got nothing to lose right now when it comes to Star Trek. Deadpool showed that you can rethink these things, do them in a different way. So really, even before J.J. knew what the idea was, his feeling was, if it wants to be an R rating, fine. If it wants to be the Wild Bunch in space, fine. Now, one of the big questions was, would Quentin Tarantino direct? And he actually gets asked this directly. So, will you direct it? I will say one thing about Star Trek that I've been waiting for someone to bring up. I don't know if I'll do it or not. I've got to figure it out. But Mark wrote a really cool script. I like it a lot. There's some things I need to work on, but I really, really liked it. I get annoyed at Simon Pegg. Now, this is funny. Simon Pegg has turned around and said many, many things, saying it's not going to be Pulp Fiction in space, calm down, don't worry. Basically dumbing down the Quentin Tarantino creative flair. And I like Tarantino for a number of reasons. There are a number of reasons why I dislike him as well. I'm not going to get into it. But I do like him, and I like the fact that he will just out and out just say, no, you're talking nonsense. And he just says, straight up, I get annoyed at Simon Pegg. He doesn't know anything about what's going on, and he keeps making all these comments as if he knows about stuff. One of the comments he said, he's like, well, look, it's not going to be Pulp Fiction in space. Yes, it is. If I do it, that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be Pulp Fiction in space. that Pulp Fiction-y aspect, when I read the script, I felt I have never read a science fiction movie that has this shit in it ever. There's no science fiction movie that has this in it, and they said, I know, that's why we want to make it. It's, at the very least, unique in that regard. Hilarious. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And it says the original Alien is a classic because it wasn't predictable. You didn't know what was going to happen. You were like, oh my god, you're allowed to do that, and that was R. Tarantino responded, but there is a gangster element to that, to what we're doing with the Star Trek thing that works out pretty good. It's clearly not just going to have gangsters. Clearly not. But there you go. I mean, it's interesting because these are obviously just the comments that he's made with respect to Star Trek. There's not much else that he goes into down here. These are more just like other comments here and there about his movies and things like that. But here's the comments that he made about the Star Trek script and the timeline that it would be set in. So, and again, there's some interesting stuff in here, even though it's on Screen Rant. It's because it's taken from a podcast. Now, he says, we'll just scroll down. Now, Tarantino has dropped more knowledge about his Star Trek, but things aren't much clearer. They are actually quite clear. Happy Side Confused podcast. He said, well, it's an idea, then we got together and talked it out, and when we hired Mark Smith, who did The Revenant, to write the script, I don't know how much I can say. The one thing I can say is it would deal with Chris Pine's timeline. So we know that it would be set in the Chris Pine timeline, or at least deal with it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Now, I still don't quite understand, and J.J. Abrams can't explain it to me, and my editor has tried to explain it to me, and I still don't get it, about something happened in the first movie that now kind of wiped the slate clean. I don't buy that. So he doesn't like what the original J.J. Abrams Star Trek did with just wiping the slate clean. So again, for those people that don't think he's a fan, he is literally saying what you guys have all been saying all along. These fans that say, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's wiping the slate clean. He is literally echoing your opinions. I don't buy that. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. I don't F that. I want the whole series to have happened. It just hasn't happened yet. So again, because this is set in the past, James T. Kirk got killed, never went out in space, so on and so forth. So he's saying there's something that he can write something in a way which handles that and still allows the series to have happened. No, Benedict Cumberbatch or whatever his name is, not Khan. Alright, Khan is Khan. And I told JJ, like, I don't understand this. I don't like it. And he was like, and this is the funny part, ignore it. Nobody likes it. I don't understand it. JJ Abrams, mate, you don't understand your own creation. What? What? Come on. Just, this is how creatively, this is very evident of what the world is like with Hollywood now, the industry. They just pull things out their rear ends and just go, yeah, here you go. Yeah, whatever. He says, I don't even understand it. He says, just do whatever you want. If you want it to happen the exact way it happens on the series, it can. So there you go. That's as far as we are up now on Quentin Tarantino's R-rated Star Trek movie. This inevitably will start to ebb and flow a little bit more with information. But I like this idea, and I like it for many, many reasons. Obviously, some of the reasons which I've just said. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, though. What do you think? Because is this good news? Is this bad news? Are you one of those people that really hate the idea of a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek? Did you even like the new ones? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe. You can stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news and also movie reviews, plus some commentary videos. That's all that I produce here on this channel, as well as some explained stuff. But yeah, hit that bell notification icon to stay notified. If you want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, you can at Mr. Age Reviews. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a Mr. Age. Take care.